What's up, Epic 7? The guaranteed targeted special Mystic Summon is here, and I've been asked to put out a tier list. What should you summon for? What should you get on this? Couple points of interest. First things first, there's a balance patch that's happening next week, and that balance patch is going to change several of these ML5 units. And we can theory craft all we want on, how good Fallen Cecilia is going to be. Is Dragon King Sharoon really going to be busted now, or just kinda okay? We really don't know. We think we know, but we don't. We've been wrong before. So my first advice is don't touch this until you see the impact of the RTA changes next season and the impact of the balance patch. That way you can go in and buy with knowledge that you're doing the right thing. What's meta right now might not be meta after the RTA changes, after the balance patch goes into effect. So I strongly encourage you to hold back, right? You've gone your entire life without your pirate captain Flan. You can hang in there another 2 weeks. Also, in 2 weeks, we should know what the next rotation is. Now, the first time they did one of these, the next rotation was just another rerun. But the second time they did one of these, the next rotation was a brand new ML5. So, again, waiting the 2 weeks, it gives you future sight into how the RTA meta changes with all of the RTA changes we've had. It gives you future sight into the balance patch and how it impacts these units, and if it makes anybody shift places, if it makes something that used to be good not so good, and something that used to be trash into treasure. And 3, you will get to see what the next rotation is. You will get to see, is it ML Lurunka? Is it ML Arya? Is it ML Ras? Are their kits broken? Are their kits, you're like, oh, there's no way there could ever be a unit that's just as good as Zeo. I need Zeo on my account. Well, what if the next ML5 is Zeo's kit, but better? Don't assume that just because something seems irreplaceable right now, that something doesn't come along and replace it. You could have never convinced people that Apocalypse Ravi wasn't the most broken thing that you could have on your account, and then Blood Moon Haste came out and totally took her job. Just basically was better APOC Ravi. So yeah, that's my advice. Now, unless it's waifu, right? If Briar Witch's Saria is waifu and you need her on your account to be complete, you do you. Okay, we're talking about pulling with the big head here. If you're gonna think with the other head, you don't need a tier list. You just go get what makes you happy. So let's talk about these units. Now, I'm going to make it easy. I'm not going to go into power levels and how units compare to each other. This is a mystic summon, right? This is using your mystic bookmarks. This isn't a selector. This isn't a headhunt. This is going to cost you, and it's going to potentially cost you getting what's coming down the road. And one thing we know for sure is that Smilegate loves rolling out busted as hell stuff. So I'm going to make this really simple. I'm going to break it down into, is this unit worth getting or is it not worth getting? Simple as that, right? So we're going to start off, first off, the can't get column. These are the units that you just can't summon because they're not available from the ticket. The strongest in that group would obviously be Lone Wolf Peira. Lone Wolf Peira is crazy powerful. Sadly, you can't get her. Same with Lua. Hellion Lua is an amazing control unit, really good out of the gate. Bistander Hwayoung, you can't get her either. And Successor Taeyu, you can't pick him up. He is situationally insanely strong. If you know how to use him and know how to play him right, he's crazy powerful. Otherwise, he disappoints. And speaking of disappointing, we got the great Lord Ainz, who unfortunately is just not good at all. But you can't get any of these units, so you have to worry about it. Now, first in the weakest column is Operator Sigret. The once great barrier smasher has just got no use in the game and needs a whole kit overall. Bad unit. Don't pull this unit unless she is waifu. No matter how many times they buff him, Twisted Eidolon Kayron never seems to do that much in the game. Some people are having some mild success with him, but hard to use. Astromancer Elena needs an entire kit overhaul. She is basically just crappy Mort. So yeah, why pull that? It hurts my heart to do this, but Lionheart Cermia has got almost no place in the game at all, except for like stabilizing a Katie's hunt. They need to do something for my girl. They need to do something for all the redheads in this game. Come on. My chat's going to be upset about this one, but Tenebria. For all the Tenebria fans out there, realize that I'm putting her ahead of Cermia. That lets you know that it hurts me as much as it hurts you. Tenebria used to be the queen of all things PvE, and she has fallen away. She's only good for some early Abyss, and now not so much that. The Guild War monstrosity Dark Corvus, there's just too much injury and bulk in Guild Wars. You can't even use him there, and he's got no use anywhere else. Next is C. Loser Charles. Closer Charles is a nice opener. He's great for some 100% Azamanic hunts, but I mean, really, that's not enough to like tier him anywhere worth pulling. You don't get Closer. Girl Straze is decent in some situations, but they're incredibly few and far between. Straze himself goes right ahead of her simply because he has some better hunt applications, but even those are really kind of few and far between. Desert Jewel Basar might see a resurgence after this balance patch, maybe, but right now he just doesn't have the bulk to survive, the speed to go first, or the resistance to tank down. Commander Pavel was responsible for me getting champion so many seasons, but this style of cleave is on its way out. He's just hard to use. He really needs a little something to be good again. And speaking of cleave, the anti-cleave god has also fallen by the wayside as pure CR manipulation-based cleaves are getting harder and harder to deal with. Specimen Sez is very, very good in his niche. It's just very, very hard to set up that niche. You're going to have trouble stunning people, so yeah, not worth getting, not worth getting. Stronger than all the others is Pirate Captain Flan, one of my favorite units. She had a chance to be freaking S tier, but her buffs got canceled, and what she got, while good and while it might be better moving into this bounce patch, right now I got her rated kind of low. This is the first of the units that has a really legitimate chance of shooting up the ladder because of the RTA changes. The RTA changes giving her 1500 free attack, boosting the damage from burns, bleeds, and bombs. Might make her somewhat functional. Remember, she does still require a plus 30 limited artifact, which, all things considered, peeps are kind of low on the list. Judge Kise is deceptively powerful. People that run her, no. People that don't run her might be missing out. She's hard to gear, but she is not bad. She is just hard to gear and use. Speaking of hard to gear and use, top model Luluca is one of the best initiators out there for cleave if you can build her stupid fast. She has a very heavy gear threshold, but if you can meet it, she is very, very good. Apocalypse Ravi is just solid. She is the quintessential middle of the road unit on a 1 to 10 scale, solid 5. She's a great pick if you just don't know what to pick and you got to slam something and the timer's running out. But she was kind of wholly replaced by Blood Moon Haste when he came out. Martial Artist Ken is another one rolling out in the balance patch. He might be super good. He might be super bad. We have to see how he does after the balance patch. Right now, he's just situational. If the bad guys draft poorly, you can run over them, and a handful of Guild War applications. Same with Spirit Eye Celine. She is situationally good. You can try to use her. You can put her into a comp and see how she runs, but pound for pound, she's very, very hard to use. Speaking of hard to use, Remnant Violet, it seems like every time this guy gets a buff, they come out with something that destroys him further. There are once in a blue moon situations where the way the opponent drafts makes it perfect chance for Ruele to run people over, but they are few and far between. Very hard to use unit. Arby, who should be your selector if you're brand new. Arby is a good, solid unit. He will do things for you in RTA early. He can help you out in Arena early. He can help you out in PvE early. He is wholly replaceable by other units, but if built right, he can be a great 4 or 5 pick to run people over and make people really have to consider, do I ban this guy or do I think I can survive it? And speaking of survival, we got Maid Chloe. Maid Chloe has not a lot of RTA uses, but she's very, very good in PvE. She'll help you in Labyrinth. She'll help you with Abyss. She'll help you with hard content. I mean, go figure. Any unit that can cleanse everybody, attack buff everybody, bring everybody back from the dead, and who heals passively is somehow pretty good in places. Ruele is seeing a buff. Will it be enough to make her great again, or is she just going to still be kind of good? We'll have to see if this pushes her up, but she is another unit who is very, very strong in keeping your team alive. Lone Crescent Bologna, we're starting to get into some actual good units, some higher tier units. Lone Crescent Bologna always crits, which means she is easier to build, and you can take her into all those anti-crit units. She is one of the chief reasons Landy has fallen off so much in the meta. She's really good in PvE and has some niche uses in PvP. I do think she needs a little bit of a buff, like all the redheads. Buff the redheads, Smilegate. we're going to go to Conqueror Lilias, who used to be the S tier, used to be the #1 pick. You start looking at some tier lists from last year, and Conqueror Lilias is at the top of all of them. And she has fallen off because of a lot of the things that punish you for non-attack skills, combined with the fact that she doesn't have any, what do you call it, any tempo increasing capability to her kit. I mean, sure, she can push something back on her S2, but unlike other openers who do things similar to her, she doesn't push the entire team back. She doesn't push your team up. It makes her a little harder to use in a modern meta. She still is really good in PvE. You'll find that she is part of a really nice Wyvern one-shot team, but I don't think she is worth your Mystic Pity, guys. Little Queen Charlotte's a fantastic unit to execute some dark units. I think she is very underrated. People just think she's like lesser Auden, but unlike Auden, she can extinct things when she kills them, and that's very useful. Probably one of the best redheads in the game, Silverblade Aramintha. Her only weakness is immunity everywhere, and if immunity is not a problem, she is a problem for your enemy. She is a fantastic unit, lots of tempo, and the fact that she spams all these burns, combined with everybody getting 1,500 more attack, burns doing more damage, I think we're going to see a lot more out of Silverblade Aramintha next season. Faithless Lidica, if you can build her, she is busted good. All right, everybody's all excited about the Fire Lidica buffs. Why are they excited? Because they're turning her into Faithless Lidica. Faithless Lidica cleave is one of the strongest cleaves in the game and is very, very hard to stop. The only thing that stops this unit from being top tier is the insane amount of gear it takes to build this unit. If you do not have Emperor tier gear, this unit is not for you. Last Rider Kraus, still a very strong knight. The cooldown reduction is really, really good in his kit. You just can't go wrong with Last Rider Kraus. He even has some PvE uses where he's great at mowing down the Nightmare Queen. Eternal Wanderer Ludwig. Do you want to cleave? Do you like cleaving? Then you need Ludwig on your team. The reason Ludwig is further down on the list is it takes a village to raise a child. And Ludwig, if you want to raise him to the point where he's going to be able to cleave for you, you need an entire team built around him. And some of those units are not the most accessible units. So consider, do you have the units to make Ludwig? Do you have the activators to facilitate Ludwig style cleave? And if you don't, he's way down on the list. If you do, then he's high up. I'm putting him up here because he's an investment unit and he's solid in a lot of Guild Wars, a lot of Arena, and can be used here and there in RTA. Bellion. I'm putting Bellion kind of lower on the list simply because it's hard to use her. It's hard to draft her. If you pick her, she'll probably be banned. She's got some great uses in Arena, maybe some in Guild Wars, but especially with units like Frida and other units who don't need souls to soul burn anymore, they're starting to come out with, the Queen of Stopping Souls is having trouble stopping soul burns now, so a little bit lower of importance. If you have 3F as an artifact, her importance shoots up pretty high. Sylvan Sage Vivian. If you look at this kit out of the box, she should be amazing, but she is kind of just crappier Bistander Hwayoung. As far as being debuffed goes, as long as she has focus, she can't be buffed, but as soon as it's gone, she can be controlled and debuffed. Very good unit, and if you're going for the skin this season, maybe you want to pick her up so you can have somebody put the skin on. Dragon King Sharoon. This is one to keep an eye on, guys. This is one that might wind up here after the buffs. The buffs on Dragon King Sharoon look insane. We'll have to see how she tests out in this new meta, how things change with the changes to RTA, but if they change the way I think they will, she's going to shoot up in value. Right now, this is about where she's at right now. She's a good option for dealing with things like Death Dealer Ray. I keep her right down here around the Sylvian level. Solitary of the Snow. She's an evergreen unit because of her impact on focus. A good one to have, and she synergizes really well with some other units, but not so important. I think she is a must-have unit. Requiem Roana. If you go first, she will wreck your enemy. She is a very, very strong unit. She is part of the reason why anti-CR pushing is such a big deal right now. You can build her with effectiveness or attack and run over people in multiple different ways. I think she's a solid unit to get. Even if you don't cleave, she is really good as long as you pick the fastest unit on the team. Landy. What can I say? Landy was the meta. Her anti-crit and her constant countering and salvos and her penetration, but you know what? Her counters got stomped by Mort. Her crit, her anti-crit wasn't that big of a deal, especially with units that don't need to crit to do damage. And her penetration when she throws the boat, well, Ilanov and DN kind of crapped all over that. So a lot of answers to Landy came out, moving her further down on the list. She's still a very, very strong unit and a very worthwhile unit to have and build, but not the must-have worth getting she used to be. Designer Lilibet, fiercely, fiercely strong. Last season, this current season, she's fallen off a lot. Other units just do a lot of what she does. Having that built-in cleanse is nice, but I don't think she's the must-have unit she used to be. Same with Archdemon Shadow. Once upon a time, she was the most important unit in the game, and she is even stronger now. The constant dual attacks make her a viable pick into PvE that a lot of people forget about, but you turn her skills off and she is a consistent dual attacking unit, better than even Camilla. You don't need Tachi. And in RTA, she is great at controlling and sealing and blowing things up, and her burns will make her even stronger after the patch. I think she is one of the stronger units on this list, though not so strong I think you give up on a pity. Same with Fallen Cecilia. Now, my opinion on FCC might change, right? I think she is going to be very, very good, but I'm not sure she is going to be must-have level good. We have to see how she tests out after the balance patch goes into effect in about 2 weeks. Another reason to wait and see before you go ham on this list. Mediator Kowarik used to be the most important unit to get in the game. We're sliding him down here simply because Laia kind of does his job now. There are things that Kowarik does that Laia doesn't do, up to and including being really, really good in a lot of PvE content, but I don't think he is worth your pity anymore. I don't think he is the must-have unit he used to be, though he is near the top of this list. Same with Ambitious Tywin, formerly the best knight in the game. He might be switching places with FCC. He is very, very good. He is a nightmare for your opponent to deal with. You have to be careful about who you hit and how you hit when he's on the team. You have to tiptoe around the enemy. He's one of the best Arius Knights in the game, but he is not worth your pity, guys. We're talking about a Mystic Pity here. We're talking about giving up on Arunca, giving up on Luna, maybe giving up on Ras. I'm not going to recommend him there. Briar Witch Asaria, I was kind of on the line with this one. Bryceria is super, super strong, but is she so strong, right? She is situationally broken, but she's not a first pick unit. And I'm telling you guys, if I'm going to recommend a unit to you, I'm going to recommend a unit that's pretty much a first pick unit that you're going to use all the damn time. And I don't think you use Briar all the time. I think Briar is a counter pick, and I can't say use your pity on a counter pick. Same with Blood Moon Haste, the strongest Razor and Reverser in the game, who used to be the number one pick on almost every tier list. Fallen away kind of, due to units like Singelica and Briar, due to extinction units like LQC, makes him a little less important, and also his ability to nuke and bring things back to life has been hampered heavily by anti-penetration. Harsetti, people are going to argue with me on this one, but the reason I'm putting Harsetti down here is she has like an 85% pre-ban rate. Enjoy picking your unit that you're never going to be allowed to play. Now, sure, she's all over Arena and Guild Wars, but that's starting to fall away too. Her use in Arena and Guild Wars, people are starting to figure her out. Counters are starting to come out, and she is not the must-have unit for defense she used to be. And as far as RTA goes, good luck getting her through a draft. If you run into that 15% of the population that doesn't pre-ban her, they will probably post-ban her. So she is hard to use because basically nobody's allowed to play with her because she's a terrible, terrible unit who brings an anti-fun debuff to the entire game. All right, we're getting close to the top. Dragon Bride Senya. Dragon Bride Senya is one of the strongest knights in the game. One of the difficulties about Dragon Bride Senya is you're probably going to want her on 3F, and it's a limited artifact, and if you don't have it, her value drops quite a bit, but she is still really good for what she does. You'll run into issues with Seal. You'll run into issues with people just focusing her down with injury, people slow rolling the comps and hitting you with a lot of injury. She is not the must-have that she used to be, but she is very, very close to the top of the list. Abyssal Euphine. I can't overstress how important anti-CR manipulation is right now. It seems everybody has some form of CR push-up, and your only options for stopping things like Requiem Roana, stopping things like ML Peira, stopping things that CR manipulate and CR push up their team, is Abyssal Euphine and Fire Politis. And Fire Politis ain't the unit she used to be, right? Not the easiest unit to play. She just dies. Maybe the RTA changes with RGB will help that a little bit, but Abyssal Euphine is your best option. So she is right at the top. Urban Shadow Shoe is one of the strongest RTA units in the game. If you do care about RTA, you're going to find you're going to be using Urban Shadow Shoe a lot. Everything seems to be tanky right now, and her injuries and her buffs and her speed EE have made her crazy good, easy to build, and super, super strong. Now we're going to get into what you came here for. What is actually worth it? What's worth potentially using a pity on? Well, first is Zeo. I get some pushback on this, but I had to make cuts somewhere because I just wanted to have a top five in the worst getting. And that's because I find lots of uses for Zeo, lots of opener, initiator, stopping people from cleaving you uses for Zeo. Death Dealer Ray can't keep the doctor away, guys. No amount of apples are going to stop it. Death Dealer Ray is still one of the best units for control. They tried to stop him with Schneel, and you know what? You can pick him into Schneel. His S1 and S2 are strong enough that it's just one of the best units the game to get. The only reason you don't pick up Death Dealer Ray is if you still haven't done the Fallen Lands Moonlight Theater. You can get him for free by using your Fallen Lands selector to pick him up. Empyrean Ilanov, the most game meta changing unit we have had in a long time. Just by existing, she's powerful. You can build her damage, you can build her protection set, you can build her bruiser, you can build her speed. There's lots of different ways to build her. You can have her help facilitate the damage on your team or just prevent the enemy from doing damage. Empyrean Ilanov, I think, is a must-have on your account. Near the top of almost everybody's list, the girl who knocked Conqueror Lilias off of her pedestal, Sea Phantom Politis. The resource reduction alone makes this one of the most important units in the game, not to mention her speed, her dual attack, the fact that she stealths, the artifact selections she can wear. Sea Phantom Politis is arguably the most important unit in the game, but I will argue that the number one most important unit in the game to have is Luna. There is no world where you don't have Luna, right? If you go first, you pick Luna. If you don't go first, you pre-ban Luna. If you somehow get Luna on your team and you still lose, you are just bad at RTA and need to really analyze that fight and figure out how you screwed up so bad, because if you've got Luna on your team, you should just win. She is that good. She is also a must-have for Arena. She is a must-have for Guild Wars. About the only thing she doesn't do is PvE, but for anything PvP related, best unit in the game. So there you guys are. That's my tier list. I tried to make it clean and simple. If you want a more detailed breakdown of how the units relate to each other, go check out Valky's tier list. Go check out Sue's tier list. Go check out any one of another dozen other content creator tier lists. Look at them all, absorb them all, get multiple opinions. We all play different. I look at it from a standpoint of a well-rounded E7 account. Valky's going to look at it from a standpoint of a RTA-only aggressive playstyle account. Sue's going to look at it from a standpoint of a mid to late game players who likes tank down and standard more. So everybody's going to have their own take on it, and you're going to find one that resonates with you best. So definitely absorb it all. And once again, I want to drive home. Do not touch this summon until you have seen what the next ML5 banner is, what its kit is, and what it looks like. Until you've seen what the RTA changes bring, and until you see what the balance patch does to the meta. Once you see those three things, you can go in and buy this banner with a clear mind that you have made the best possible choice, and you will not walk away with buyer's remorse. I hope this helps you guys out. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you guys have a great rest of your week. Good luck on your summons, Epic 7.